Hello everyone, welcome to my WordPress. I'm having a hard time pronouncing the word deployment this morning, but my WordPress deployment guide. If you're new to web development, you might be wondering, what does deployment mean? It just means pushing your site up from your personal computer up to a real live website. In this video, I'm going to teach you three main things. So there are three main aspects to this. Number one is the initial cloning or sort of copying or migrating your site from your local computer up to a real web host. And to do that, we use a really easy to use simple plugin. The second aspect is ongoing changes to code files, right? Because you might be developing a theme or a plugin, and over time, you might need to push changes fairly frequently. So for those type of ongoing frequent changes, once you've performed the initial copy, I use Git and GitHub Actions. It's a silky smooth workflow. Essentially, you just push your changes to the main branch and that's it. It gets automatically deployed to your live website and it's completely free. Okay, and then the third and final aspect is the missing middle step. So we're going to set up something that's called a staging environment, or like a staging subdomain, like stagingyourdomain.com. The whole point of this is maybe you don't want to take the changes directly from your personal computer straight to the live website. Maybe you want a middle ground where you can send a preview link to the client or to your boss or whoever, other developers on your team, anyone in the world, right? You want sort of like this preview area and you can send them a link to just sign off on it, say, hey, everything looks good, go ahead and go live. So in this video, I'm also going to show you how I set up a staging subdomain for WordPress, and then how I use sort of this combination between cloning and Git workflows to have a silky smooth staging site as well. So that's a lot to cover, but I think by the end of this video, you're going to feel really comfortable handling deployments in WordPress. Let's jump into the action. Quick 30-second shameless plug before we get to the action. If you're enjoying this YouTube channel, you can support me by visiting learnwebcode.com. That's my official website. I have a Patreon where you can get your name featured in the closing credits of videos. I have various courses available on Udemy and Teachable. For the last 19 years, I've used DreamHost to host my websites. If you use my affiliate link to DreamHost, I will receive compensation for sending new users their way. That's a great way to support this YouTube channel. You can join my newsletter, follow me on social media. That's about it. Cool. Let's get to the actual action. So here I have a local WordPress website, and imagine I want to push it live up onto the web. And imagine I didn't just have 3 posts. Imagine I had 100 blog posts, and each one had uploaded images and media. So what is a smooth way to just move everything, your database, your settings, your files, everything in one fell swoop? The easiest way by far is to create an all-in-one bundle file using a plugin. So if we go into our dashboard and go into plugins, click add new plugin, and in this search field, search for all-in-one migration. For some reason, it's the second result instead of the first result, but it's all-in-one WP migration and backup by ServeMask. You'll know that it's the right one if it has over 5 million active installations. So install that and then wait for that to finish. Click activate. Cool. Now, before we use this to create an all-in-one bundle that we can move to a live website, before you do that, absolutely make sure that you have a secure username and password. So currently, because I'm on a local dev environment copy, my admin username and password is admin and the password is admin. So you definitely want to change that before migrating this, because that will be used on your live website. So in the sidebar, just click on users, find your user, just be sure to edit that. Towards the bottom, you'll see where you can set a new password. So just set that to something that's not going to get hacked in about 1 second. And then do be sure to click update profile to save those changes. Okay, once you have a secure password, we're ready to create our bundle file. So in the left-hand menu, you now have this new all-in-one WP migration menu. And when you hover over it, we see these different options. We are interested in export. From this export screen, you just click this green option here, export site to, and then we're going to choose the file option. You can see it's already done. So I click this link. That's going to download a small zip file to my downloads folder. Chrome tries to block it for some reason, so I'm going to click keep. I want to keep that file. You can click close, and now in your computer's downloads folder, you'll have that new file. So now the question is, what do we do with this file? Simple. So now you just need a live WordPress website. So it's going to be different depending on which hosting company you're using. I'm using DreamHost. So just go into your hosting company's dashboard and spin up a new empty, fresh WordPress installation. So just for this example, I've created a subdomain of like live or production, like live.learnwebcode.com. It's completely empty, right? This is the default theme. There's only one blog post. So now if you go into the dashboard of this live website, we just perform like an equal and opposite reaction. We just install that same plugin. So go under plugins, add a new plugin, search for the all-in-one migration, right? There it is. Go ahead and click install now, the one by ServeMask with 5+ million active installations. Install it. Be sure to click activate. And now from that same menu, instead of export, we're interested in the import option, right? And then import from, just choose file, and then just select the file that's in your computer's downloads folder that we created 10 seconds ago. And it might take a minute to upload depending on if you uploaded like a lot of high resolution images, so on and so forth, but just be patient. Once the upload finishes, then we need to click the proceed button. Okay, then we can click finish. Now that will log us out. So if you click on dashboard, you're logged out. Now you need to log in with a completely different username and password. So this is not the username and password that your live site was using 10 seconds ago. Now it's using the username and password that was from your local copy of WordPress. That's why I had you choose a secure password even locally. So go ahead and log in, okay? And now if I go visit the public front end of my website, awesome. Like I can click on third post. It copied over not only like my database data and my different posts, but even my images. This is also using my custom theme files, my custom plugin files, everything. So this is perfect. However, now that this initial clone or copy is complete, what about frequent ongoing changes to code files? Like back on my local dev environment, what if I like modified this theme to change the background color? So like what if in my classic theme, I went into style.css and I changed the background color to like a much darker gray. So I save that, I refresh, you get the idea. So now how can you have a smooth workflow of like getting your new PHP, JavaScript, CSS files up to your server? I don't want to have to manually FTP those files, and I don't want to go through some web browser-based file manager. As a developer, I want to use Git and GitHub. So right now I want to walk through this with you, how we can set things up so that you could just go into your command line and commit your changes and then push them up to your main branch, and GitHub will handle pushing or deploying those files to your server for you. This is really great too for like pull requests, right? If a coworker sends over a pull request, they want to merge their feature branch into the main branch. Just from the web browser, you can click, yes, I approve this change. It gets merged into the main branch and it gets automatically pushed over to your server. And the best part, this is completely free. In the past, you would have had to pay for some sort of third-party deployment service, but GitHub Actions makes this free and easy to set up. Now, there are a million different ways you could set this up in terms of your folder structure. Like maybe you wanted your entire WP content folder to be inside of Git, so that would include all of your plugins and all of your themes. It's up to you, but in this example, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to imagine I just want this one theme, this classic theme that I'm working on to be in Git, and that's the only thing I want to get like automatically deployed to my live site. But you could easily adapt these steps to move over any folder that you want to. So if you wanted to have this work for a plugin or your entire WP content folder, you get the idea. I won't walk through setting up like a new repo on GitHub with you, but right now, if you want to follow along, just create a brand new private repo and then go ahead and get your theme files pushed up to it. So back in VS Code, I would say like git init to turn this current folder into a repo, and then I would just git add -A. I would commit with a message of first commit, all files. And then before I can push that, I need to add a remote. So I'll just paste in this command. GitHub shows you this exact command. This command, I just copy and paste that, git remote add origin. Now I'm ready to push. So git push origin main. And then back on my new empty repo, if I refresh, cool, there are my files. So now the question becomes, how do I set up an automatic workflow so that anytime I push to the main branch, it automatically gets sent over to this site, right? Our live production website. How do we connect the dots between those two things? Well, we're going to use something called a GitHub action. And I want to give credit, this action is by Sam Kirkland, but I'm going to use my copy and paste configuration file because I've modified it so that it only happens for actions on the main branch. And then if you're using shared hosting, or especially if you're using DreamHost like I am, I've sort of customized some of these values like the paths so that it's easier to work with. But anyways, here's what we're going to do. In the description for this video, you'll find a link to this gist, and I just want you to copy and paste the entire contents of this file. So like if you click on the file name or just click raw, just select everything into your clipboard, and let me show you where you're going to paste that. Back in my Git repo locally in VS Code, we're going to create a new folder in the root, and it needs to have the exact name of .github. So it's a hidden folder, .github. Inside of that folder, you're going to have another nested folder called workflows. And then finally, inside the workflows folder, you're going to have a new file. And now we can name it what we want, but it needs to end in .yml. So I'm going to call it like deploy.yml. In that brand new empty file, just paste in your clipboard. Now, before we can expect this to work, we do need to perform several steps, right? So you, first of all, would need to change your target server. Obviously, your domain is different than mine. And then you would need to add in your user. So DreamHost or whatever hosting company you're using, you'll have a user that would need to go here. And then you would also use that same username value here for this absolute path of where you're trying to push the files to. So I'm just going to push them into that same matching theme folder. It's actually not named my awesome theme. In this video, I've named it what? My wonderful theme. So you would need to make sure that your folder name for your theme or your plugin or whatever your folder structure is like, just really pay attention to where on the live server are you trying to push to, like which exact directory. It should match your repo's folder structure. From here, we have two main tasks though. We need to figure out what in the world our username is inside of our web hosting, and then we absolutely need to set up an SSH key. Now here's the cool part. This is not an SSH key for your personal computer. We're not going to overwrite that. If you already have a key, that's great. We're not going to mess it up. We're going to generate a new key, and it's just going to facilitate the relationship between this GitHub action that's going to run in a Docker image and your live website. So it's essentially going to let your live website trust this GitHub action. Let's take it one step at a time. Let me show you how I would find out my username that we're going to use here and here. By the way, this video is not sponsored by any energy drink, but this flavor is amazing. Cherry berry lime, highly recommend it. Anyways, from your dashboard, so I'm using DreamHost, you're just going to want to click on Manage for the site, the live site that you're interested in. So I'll click on Manage, and then up here we're going to click on Website, and then in this Manage Files area, we're going to click on Login Info. So this is your username that we're interested in. So yours will be different than mine, but just copy that into your clipboard. Back in VS Code, you're going to use that for remote user. So paste that in. And then also in your absolute path. So it's going to be home / instead of your user, you'd paste that in there. Cool. Let's give that a save, but we're not done. Back in the dashboard, I would absolutely need to enable secure shell access, and I also need to know what in the world my password is, because just a one-time thing. We need to one-time log in through the terminal manually ourselves and add an authorized keys file. I wish there was a way that we could do these two things in one foul swoop, but unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, when I click on change password, that's going to initiate like a 5-minute change, and when I click on this to enable SSH access, that's going to trigger a 5-minute waiting time. But we need to perform both. So I would click on change password so that and then choose a password that you're aware of, and then just temporarily store it somewhere safe so that you can log in from the command line just one time in about 3 minutes from now. Okay, but go ahead and click reset password, and through the magic of video editing, I'll come back once this finishes. Okay, as soon as it does finish, then we want to be sure to enable SSH access. So go ahead and click that to enable it. Cool, that should just take a minute or two. As soon as that finishes, we now have SSH access. We need to go log into our server just once, and then you don't ever need to ever again. So from any terminal on your computer, you could always just use VS Code's Controller Command J if you wanted to, but run this command with me. Just SSH, and then whatever your username is, yours will definitely be different from mine, but your username @ and then whatever your domain is. So I'm using like live.learnwebcode.com. Yours will be different. Go ahead and press enter. Yes, we want to trust it, so just type yes and hit enter. It's going to ask for a password, and that's the password you just chose in the dashboard maybe like 30 seconds ago. So type that in, hit enter. Cool, so now you're officially logged in. Here's what you need to do. let's say pwd to see where we're at. That should be your home directory. So if you like cd to tilde, it should be the same location. Yep. So in your home folder, we need to create an SSH folder with an authorized keys file. And then we're just going to give it the public key that our GitHub action is going to use so that the server knows that it can trust our GitHub action when the action tries to log in and send over and deploy all of our files. So here's what we need to do. We need to make a directory, so mkdir, and it needs to be named .ssh. I'm not making that up. It needs to have that exact name, so go ahead and press enter. Then go into that folder, so cd.ssh. In this folder, we need to create a new file. So you can say touch to create a file, and it needs to be named authorized_keys. Go ahead and press enter. Let's run a clear just so we're back up at the top of the screen. Now you want to edit that file, but for now we don't have the key yet. So what I would do is just open up a separate terminal on your computer, like a separate tab. And we're going to revisit this one in just a moment where we're logged into our server. In a new tab where you're just back on your personal computer, I want to show you now how we can generate a key that can facilitate the dance between our GitHub action and our server. Now, this is not what we're going to do today, but normally what I would do is I would Google like GitHub, how to create a key, and then in the GitHub documentation, it gives you the exact command you would run, like SSH keygen, ed25519. However, from my experience, we cannot use this approach for this GitHub action. So let me show you the exact command we're going to run. And this is back in a separate terminal where you're on your personal computer. But paste this in or type this in with me. So it's SSH-keygen and then -m PEM and then -T RSA-B 4096. Go ahead and press enter. Now don't worry, this is not going to overwrite any files on your computer because the very next question it's going to ask you is like, where do you want to save this? So just do not leave this prompt empty. If you leave this prompt empty, there's a chance it could overwrite an existing key you have. But in my case, I'm going to type in like only WordPress. That's it. So now that I've typed that in, I can go ahead and press enter. It's not going to overwrite anything on my computer. It's just going to generate a private key and a public key. I'll leave the passphrase empty. Cool. So now wherever you ran this command from, I just ran this from my home folder. So now if I run an ls, there you see it. I have only WordPress and only WordPress.pub. So the pub is the value that we're going to store on our server. And then this one is the private key. That's going to go in a GitHub secret. Let's work with the public key first because remember back in this tab, we're already logged into our server. So back on your local computer, let's just cat the contents of this file. I want to see what's in this file and I want to copy it into my clipboard. So I would just run a cat and then what did I call it? Only WordPress.pub. Cool. So just select that entire value that it just gave you into your clipboard, copy it into your clipboard. And then back in this tab where you're logged into your server, remember you should be in the directory, the .ssh directory, and that has that file called authorized keys. We're just going to edit that file. So you could use Vim if you're feeling brave, but I recommend Nano. So Nano authorized keys, go ahead and press enter, and then just paste in your clipboard. And to save that, it's Control X, and then Y for yes, and then keep the same file name, hit enter. Cool. Now, before we're done here, we do need to change the permissions on that file. So I would actually cd back to my home folder, and then I would chmod 700 on the SSH folder, so .ssh, and then I would chmod 600 on the .ssh authorized keys file. Cool. So we're done here. Now we just need to go do something with our private key. Let me show you what we're going to do. So back in this tab on your local computer, run a ls, right? So now this one that doesn't end in .pub, that's your private key. You definitely don't want to ever leak that anywhere. So let me show you the safe and secure place we're going to keep it. First of all, let's go get it in your clipboard though. So just run cat and then whatever you called yours. Mine is only WordPress. That's going to give you a really long value. So make sure you scroll up and start selecting from the very beginning. It should begin with like -- begin RSA private key. And then it ends in end RSA private key. So just copy that entire value that it gave you into your clipboard. And then we're going to store it as a GitHub secret. So from the repo that I set up maybe 10 minutes ago, right? My wonderful theme GitHub repo, you're going to go to settings. And then in this left-hand menu, if you scroll down towards the bottom, or I guess towards the middle bottom, we see secrets and variables. So click on that and click on actions. And then yes, from action secrets and variables, we just want to set up a secret. So click new repository secret. The name is all uppercase SSH_key. It needs to be exact because that's what our action file is looking for, right? On this line, secrets dot, and then so it needs to match exactly. Cool, you get the idea. But then for this value, just paste in your clipboard and then click add secret. I believe that's everything. I'm doing this live, so I might have missed a step, but let's just give this a test. So the way that you would test this out, well, obviously it's not going to work yet. We need to commit this GitHub action file. So in the command line, I would just say, like git add -uppercase A. I always like to run a quick git status, like, yep, that is indeed the only change. Just commit that. So git commit added action, and then just push that up to the main branch. So git push origin main. Cool. Now back in GitHub, you can click on actions right about here. And here you see it, it's spinning. Let's see if it succeeds or it fails, right? This is the moment of truth. From my experience, sometimes it finishes in literally like 1 or 2 seconds. And other times, for some reason, it'll go on for like 2 minutes. I'm not really sure how exactly that works. Maybe if you pay for the premium version, it's faster. I don't know. I have no idea. But let's just wait maybe another 30 seconds and see what happens here. What if I manually refresh? It's still going. The very first push might take a while because it's going to consider every single file. Well, again, I don't really have that many files, so that should be a fairly quick transfer. But the first push could take a little bit longer than normal. For future pushes, it should be really quick. I've seen it take only like 1 or 2 seconds. It's kind of random, though. I've also seen it take, a minute or two when I would have thought it would only take a second. Okay, cool. So it finished. I see a green check mark. If you see a red X, you can click on this to get a little bit of information as to why it might have failed, but it looks like mine worked. So if I go back over to my other browser, and this is my live website, if I perform a hard refresh, I'm hoping to see that this is a really dark gray background. That would mean that that means my new CSS file got transferred. Cool. So now that was a lot of work. That was a lot of setup, but you only have to do that once. So now let's see how luxurious it is for future code changes, right? Like if back in my local code, like let me make a CSS change. Like what if I changed this background color to like a dark purple, right? And I save that, and then so I say git add everything, git commit design change to purple, and then I push that up. So git push origin main. That's literally all I have to do. And that CSS file will now be on my live website. Now, it might take 2 seconds. It might take 2 minutes. I'm not sure, but you can go to GitHub, just refresh your actions screen. You can see there it is. It's working. It's working. Hopefully, it's a lot faster this time. Cool. So I see a green check mark. It finished. So if I go to my other browser and hard refresh, hopefully I see purple. I do indeed. At this point, I want to show you how like a pull request would work and why this workflow is so cool. So imagine like you're working on a totally separate feature branch. Like imagine you have to create like a pretty complex new feature for a client that's going to revolve a lot of JavaScript, like PHP, CSS, everything. So you might like say git checkout, like let's create a new feature branch. So git checkout -b complex new feature, right? So now I'm on that new branch. And let's just make like 2 changes, like maybe in header.php, like I say, a brief description can go here. I change that to 3 exclamations. I go into style.css and I change this to be maybe like a dark orange value. Cool. So I would say like git add everything, and then git commit finished the new advanced feature. And then I would just push that branch to GitHub. So git push origin complex new feature. Now check this out. Here's why I'm such a big fan of this GitHub action workflow. Back in GitHub, if I go to the repo home screen, you're going to see, that branch had a new push. So check this out. You can click compare and pull request. Now imagine I am like a developer that's not the boss, but you're maybe like a junior developer. So you're the one who created this new feature branch, and you can just submit a pull request to maybe like a senior developer or a boss. So you can say like, you can type in your title, your description, click create pull request. Okay, and now imagine now I'm role playing as the senior developer or the boss of the company or the head of the development department. So you can come in and say, oh, one of the junior developers had a pull request. You can look at the 2 files that were changed. Like you can click on this and just at a glance, right? Like I'm in my web browser, I can see, oh, okay, in this one file they changed this line, in this other file they did this. You can go, oh, you know what, this looks good to me. So you can just go back to the pull request and click merge pull request. Just click confirm. That's going to automatically merge it into main, but more importantly, because we have a GitHub action, that is now getting pushed to the live website as we speak, all with just, the simple click of a button in a browser. So like if you click on actions, that should now be spinning up a new deploy. There you can see the yellow spinning. Hopefully in the next 10 seconds, it turns into a green check mark. Oh, that was really fast this time. That was only like 14 seconds. It's already on the live website. So if I go back over here and hard refresh, we should see, yes, the 3 exclamations in the header and the orange color. Beautiful. At this point, the one final step in this video is now to talk about a staging environment or a staging subdomain. Because what if you're developing a complex feature and you don't want to go straight from your local copy to the live production website? What if you wanted to have a subdomain called like staging.learnwebcode or whatever your domain is? And that way you could have the client or your boss sort of sign off on the changes, like send them a preview link, and they can approve it before you actually go live. The good news is we can integrate that perfectly with our GitHub action workflow. I'm actually going to walk through setting up that subdomain with you because if you make sure to choose the same user, you won't even need to log into the server to add an authorized key. It will just already be there because it's the same, hosting user. So here's what I would do. Like imagine you already have your live website and you want to set up a staging website. I would just go under websites and click manage websites. Use this top right button to add a website. And from the options, I want this second one where it says create a subdomain. And so my subdomain is going to be staging dot. And then for me, the parent domain is obviously learnwebcode.com. Okay, so click next onto hosting. And this is the really important part. So before you click something too quickly and move on to the next step, you don't want to miss the opportunity to select which user you want to use. So like I'll click this, yes, I want to use my shared hosting. But as soon as you select that, now you see this area where it says user. We don't want to create a new user. We want to use the same user from the website we set up, 10 or 15 minutes ago, right? Where we logged in through SSH and set up our authorized key. If we choose that user, everything will just already be set up and good to go. There will just be a second domain hosted under that same user. So I would click on this and change it from new user. And then in this search field, just paste in your user. So this is yours will be different than mine, but this is the one I used, 10 or 15 minutes ago. Cool. And that was the important step that I really wanted to make sure that you choose. So from here, you can just click Set Up Website. You might need to wait maybe 5 or 15 minutes for that to get set up, and it will automatically, or it should automatically give you an HTTPS, like Let's Encrypt certificate. But after you wait maybe 5 minutes or so, then I'll show you how to install WordPress. I'm using DreamHost, so for me, it's in this left-hand menu. You just click on WordPress and then install WordPress. And then from this screen, you just select the domain you want to install it at. So for me, that's staging.learnwebcode. Then click Install WordPress. It's asking if I want to use Liftoff or a custom installation. Liftoff is actually pretty interesting. It uses AI to set up something for you. In this case, I don't want that. I'm just, copying over or cloning my own WordPress installation. So I'll click Custom Installation, click Next. On this screen, I don't want any of these sort of pre-made templates. I just want to click None. So in the bottom right corner, right, that's for people who are already familiar with WordPress. Click Next. I'm a big fan of this caching plugin, and I like the DreamHost auto login, so I'll just click Confirm Install. Okay, the installation is moving right along. It should only take a few minutes. Awesome, mine only took a few minutes, and here I am. I'm on staging.learnwebcode.com. I have an HTTPS certificate. We have a brand new empty WordPress installation. We're ready to go. If you're wondering how to log in as the admin because you have no idea what your WordPress username and password is, that's okay. DreamHost has this really cool setup. So from my managed websites with all my different domains, here we see staging.learnwebcode.com. And if you just click on the WordPress icon, that will automatically log you in. And now from here, I'm just going to use the all-in-one migration tool to move over the same site that we already moved over to the live website. So I would just click, no thanks, do not remind me again. Let's go install that plugin, right? So add new plugin, search for all-in-one migration. It's this one by ServeMask. So for the third time in this video, click install and activate. And then in the left-hand menu, all-in-one migration, click import. and just choose that file. So import from file, choose the file in your downloads folder. And this should only take maybe a minute or two. The upload finished, so I'll click proceed. Okay, then we can click finish. Now you will need to log in again. And it's the same username and password from your local development copy of WordPress. Okay, and if I visit the public front end, great, only it's not using the newest code from GitHub. So now, for the final task in this video, let me show you how to connect the dots between our GitHub action workflow. What I like to do is have a separate branch called staging, and then anytime you commit or push changes to that staging branch, well, it automatically deploys to the staging website. This creates a really nice workflow where you can create a feature branch and you first, merge it into staging. And then if it looks good and everyone signs off on it, it's as simple as just merging that exact same branch into the main branch. I mean, it couldn't get any simpler as a developer. So here's what we're going to do. Back in VS Code, I'm currently on, that complex new feature. So I would just check out the main branch. So git checkout main. And then I would run a pull, so because we performed that merge through the GitHub browser interface. So I would say git pull origin main. That's going to pull in the newest copy, the newest code. And all I would do now is just create a new branch called staging. So we'd say like git checkout -b staging. On this new copy, all we need to do is modify the deploy.yml file. So go into that file, and up at the very top around line number 6, just change that. Instead of main, this should now be staging. And then I think there's only one other change down towards the bottom. Yes, the destination path, and target server. So target server would now be state or whatever your domain is. For me, it's staging.learnwebcode. And then in the absolute path also, that would now be staging.learnwebcode, but everything else can stay the same. You just save that file, and then let's just commit those changes. So git add -a, git commit first push to staging branch, and then just push that up to GitHub. So git push origin staging. Cool, so let's go back into GitHub and take a look. So from our repo home screen, like if I click on actions up here, cool, we see that job already finished. It only took 15 seconds. And we can make sure that it worked by going to visit staging.learnwebcode. If I perform a hard refresh, it has those latest codes, right? It has 3 exclamations, it has the orange background. Great, so we've connected the dots. Now I want to show you one last time this really luxurious workflow. So like from start to finish now. If you were a developer on this website, here's what I would do. So I would always have the main branch checked out, right? So git checkout main. And now imagine we're going to create a new complex feature. So you make a new branch off of main. So you'd say like git checkout -b. Let's call it like amazing feature. And now let's make just a really quick test or example change. So like maybe in header.php, change this paragraph to say like, this is my new wonderful feature. Save that, maybe go into style and choose a background color that's like blue. So maybe something that looks like this. Let's save that. So now what you would do is you would just git add -a, git commit my header and style changes, and then push up that branch. So git push origin amazing feature. You could have saved your changes and then merged that into staging through the command line, but what you're probably going to do is through the GitHub interface. Right now, when I go to the repo home screen, we see amazing feature had changes. So you're going to click, imagine you're like a junior developer or you're just liking to use the GitHub interface. And then instead of the base being main, you can set that to staging. You might not need to use this workflow for staging. Maybe it's not mission critical, but you're basically merging that into staging. So you can create your pull request. Again, you might not need like permission from the head of the development team to merge into staging. But again, they can just click, they can review your code, click merge pull request. They can confirm that. Okay, and now let's see how long that takes. So if I click on actions, let's see how long it takes to merge that into staging. So it's loading, it's deploying. Hopefully it goes pretty quick. It's already done. So now if I hard refresh on staging.learnwebcode, it received those newest changes, but our live website did not. It still has the old code. So then what you can do is just like you would share this link to the staging website to the client or to the boss or whatever. Once you get sign off or approval, then you would just merge that same exact branch into main. So I would just create another pull request, right? So new pull request, the base branch would be main and the other branch would be amazing feature. Create the pull request, and then you're imagining you're the person that has permission or the authority to merge that into main. So click merge pull request, confirm the merge. Let's see how long that takes. It should go pretty quickly if we go into actions. So now it's getting deployed to the main live website. Cool, it's already done. That was really quick this time. If I refresh on the live website, beautiful. Hopefully you're starting to get the idea. Now, really quick, I want to show you that same workflow, but maybe you don't need to create all those pull requests. Maybe you're comfortable just working from the command line. So if you want to skip the GitHub pull request way, here's what you can do. So I would just git check out the main branch, and then I would pull in the newest changes. So git pull origin main. Let me create one more new feature like git checkout -b. Before I forget, I'll also make sure to pull in the newest changes from staging. So like git checkout staging, git pull origin staging. Now I would switch back to main. So git checkout main, fork off a new branch. So git checkout -b, let's call it like final feature. Okay, now let's make just a really quick change. Like in header, say, this is my last example. And maybe give like a pink background color. So then git add -a, git commit my final changes for today. Now you could push it up to GitHub, but if you're not wanting to work through that pull request workflow and you're just wanting to perform the merge yourself, you could just git checkout staging and then git merge, what did we call it? Final feature. This is Vim, so you just hit :WQ to save that, and then you would push that up in staging. So git push origin staging. That should trigger the automatic deploy system, right? So if we refresh the action screen, it's working. It's going up to the staging environment. Should be pretty quick. There we see it finished. So back on staging, if I hard refresh, cool, there we see the newest changes, but the live website, it is not updated. So now let me show you how you would do that, not through the GitHub pull request system, but just through the command line. Right, so imagine you review these changes on staging, everyone thinks it looks good, it's time to go live. Here's what you do. You would just check out main, so git checkout main, and then just merge that feature branch in. So git merge, what do we call it? Final feature, perfect, and then just git push origin main. It's gonna automatically trigger the action. So back on your action screen, you can see, hopefully that goes through very quickly. It's already done. That was a quick one. See, I'm not sure why it's so random. Like the last one took over 2 minutes and that one took 17 seconds. I have no idea. But back on the live website, you hard refresh. Beautiful. That is going to bring this video to a close. You learned how to migrate a site and then also set up easy Git deployments and have a staging environment. Throughout the video, you saw me using DreamHost. I have used them for all of my real-world WordPress projects for the last 19 years. If you want to help support this series and this YouTube channel from my website, learnwebcode.com, if you use my DreamHost affiliate link, I will receive compensation for sending you their way. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy some of my feature-length premium courses. That's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching until the very, very end. I hope you feel like you learned something, and stay tuned for the next video. This video was made possible by my supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships. I don't have any producers yet, but your name could go here. But I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Rodney, David, Linas, Demetris, Kenneth, and Sinathri for being sponsor tier members over on Patreon. Really appreciate that support. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.